right, this is Robbe here with Believe in the Run, and today we're with Satisfy. I have Erik here, creative director of the brand new running shoe, trail shoe coming out, TheROCKER. I'm excited to talk about it. It's very, very cool to see in person. We've heard a lot about it. We've heard whispers about it over the last couple months, and it's finally cool to see it in person. So Erik, let's start talking about some of the build and the design and everything else that went into this shoe. Something that stands out to me right away is the outsole of this shoe.
Completely.
I would love to start with that. So why don't you tell me more about this design and the Vibram and everything else?
Yeah, so first shoe for the brand. TheROCKER, pretty obvious, has the rocker. Brice, the founder of Satisfy, came with the name and the initial idea.
I love it.
The challenge of footwear, as you know, it's going to the same level of details that Satisfy is known in terms of apparel.
Yeah. It's a
pretty good challenge.
High quality, for
pretty
sure.
good challenge, because borrowing an apparel piece or material to bring it to the footwear world usually doesn't really work.
Yeah.
So we came with the same mindset of challenging every single element, compound, part, to go to that same obsessive level of like design and things.
Yeah.
We start with the outsole, so again, Vibram, full length, using kind of the best of what they can offer on the trail, which is like Megagrip compound,
right?
Litebase construction, weight lighter and stuff, and the traction lug that you see are the little guys on the conical shape.
So this is a super interesting design. I don't know that I've ever seen this in a trail shoe before. This almost pod-like grip or tread. And I have to say, I know Brice is a big fan of RC cars and RC monster trucks. I see a little bit of a RC car monster truck vibe going on here.
That's exactly where it comes from. So honestly, that's exactly the spirit of this. And at the same time, it allows us to challenge the established chevron in the trail world or outdoor.
Right.
Because if you look at even cleated sports, which is like completely different world, but there is like the shape is like ideal for like penetration in the ground coming out.
True, right.
We like to call it like traction over grip.
Okay.
Because grip could like be able to like block you or fall and things. So on top of that, the conical shape works super well. We tested with like different athletes from like Satisfy over like 4 or 5 different versions of our test.
Wow, okay.
And the fact to have a bit more increased flat surface here allows to also have something which is like even better when you're on like super smooth rock in like wet condition.
Interesting.
So it's like things. On top of that, we challenge the whole side geometry. We call this 360 wrap. So if you look at this, nothing is flat here. It's kind of completely rounded, which allows you to have like a bit more durability over time, because when you have like a 90-degree flat edge, you have a bit more of that bite.
Sure, right.
And we know that when that starts, usually it's like delambing and that have this kind of issue and things. So that's why you have this kind of also approach of that. And it's also connecting directly with the midsole.
Right. And so tell me more about this midsole, because this is actually, it feels like a nice, in hand, it feels like a nice mix between soft comfort, but also energy rebound, and maybe not so soft. We're not talking about instability on the trails. It feels like just the right amount. So what's this? What's the midsole compound that you're working with here?
We're doing a new blend. So as the whole process, we're challenging every single detail and established parts. So EVA and PEBA done in, with some of the best suppliers out there and stuff like this, and it's exactly what you define.
So EVA
trail needs more firm for the EVA.
Exactly.
And then the PEBA brings a little bit that softness that of course that you have, with like when you road run and having this kind of thing.
So that's an EVA PEBA blend. It's not 2 layers, it's just a blend of the two.
It's a blend. It's a one shot of the midsole.
And so we've seen that in some road shoes. I know New Balance Fuel Cell, certain iterations of the PEBA EVA blend. We really love that kind of. It's a little bit, like I said, balance of comfort and performance, where you still feel that energy return, that nice push, but you still.
And that's the reality of a run today. You go out of your door, you run 10K before hitting the trail.
Right.
You want that feel that almost you have on the road, and this. The geometry as well was like the things is was key, because a rocker shoe is a bit more unstable. Versus or at least has less stability than a classic kind of construction. So that's also the geometry was part. What we like to look at it is the system. It's not necessarily that insole plus that midsole and that outsole. It's like how they work together, which is key for us. So again, developed. You look at that texture, and again, the analogy to RC cars and that kind of tire feeling and stuff. We had this kind of inspiration from like a tire, and that texture is actually something really new, because usually in midsole you lose a little bit definition. So if you touch here, unfortunately, we won't see that on video, but like you have something super crisp.
Yeah.
But then you keep that really soft compound.
Right.
And we achieve that by challenging the way midsoles are made.
Yeah, so this is pretty interesting. Tell me about this.
This is a 3D printed metal compression mold.
Okay.
So usually it's used a bit more in development. To satisfy, we will use this for production.
Oh wow, okay.
And with the amount of air holes that you see here, that allows to have that kind of new way of doing this kind of texture.
Yeah.
On top of that, it's using less metal because it's just like layers of metal powder that are lasered to build it in 3D versus a classic mold is a CNC axis. That's going a bit more in detail, but this was the cool part of also challenging all this kind of step.
That's awesome.
The last same is bespoke. It's a D fit in the heel and E fit. That means you have a bit more lock.
So this is interesting. Sorry, I don't mean
No, please.
This is interesting because I heard this yesterday and I thought that was pretty intriguing. You're talking about the heel the heel is a little bit more narrow.
Exactly.
Widens out in the forefoot, and like you said, that provides a better lockdown in the heel, where you get a little more room in the forefoot. So for especially if you're doing longer distances, your foot swells, whatever, you want a little bit of extra room.
And again, this goes back to the same form. People now have a bit more discover larger toe box, so you're comfortable with that. But in the same time, in trail downhill, you still want to have your shoe lock to avoid like jamming or like toes. So you have that best of both worlds of having a bit more room for your toes while having a more secure heel on that.
That's pretty awesome. Cool, so let's move on to the upper then. What do we got here?
The upper is a single monomesh that we call the Rippy, which is sharing, the technology of the brand. And so we developed that from the yarn. So we picked specific yarn based on like a 66 nylon, which brings like really structure, but done and weaved in a way where if you touch it, you still feel like a soft hand. Usually this material can end up really plasticky.
You can, I've seen that in other shoes that use a ripstop style where it does feel a little bit stiff and rigid. And more, but this is definitely way more flexible, I can already tell.
You breathe through it? It's super breathable. So no compromise on that. Exactly, and but still keeping durability. Again, all the athletes from the brand and stuff have tested in many conditions, and it's like really, really nice performing. Super made in Japan, high premium microfiber on the lining.
I do see that, nice and soft on the inside here.
Exactly, and so that monomesh, we developed it in 5 colors, which will be like the launch.
Very cool.
Of what's coming for like the 3 first colorways. 4th one will release at UTMB next year.
Oh, nice.
And the blue will come a month or 2 months later, something like that.
Very cool.
Asymmetric detail on the upper. So if you look at this on the finished product, you have really like that going here, and on the outsole we did almost the opposite. So you have that feeling of the wider toe box, which is almost emphasized. And if you look in detail, that asymmetric reinforcement is done by having punch holes here and hidden laces on the medial side.
So that's interesting. So tell me the purpose of that, having the hidden laces over here.
So it's both releasing the tension, but also helping us a lot in how the pattern is made. Because when you have one single material on that upper, it's pretty hard to control the crease, the wrinkles, while still having this like nice shape that you control. So you have this. You look on the side, for example, you see all your laces, branding here. My favorite side is the medial one, where it makes it even more pure, kind of really dynamic with the flow. We don't barely have like branding beside that little touch here, which we feel is also really satisfying, a way of building, super small webbing, but highly reinforced to like last and like check all the boxes on that. So the tongue, same, follow the asymmetric construction. We have like a structural point only on the medial side to avoid tongue rotation. And that's where we also share some elements from the apparel collection. Like they have their signature Mostek t-shirts. So we looked at on the insole and the tongue how we play with that kind of Mostek kind of perforation to bring where you need more breathability on this kind of elements.
That's pretty cool. I don't know if I've seen an insole with perforations to allow for more breathability.
So we have that kind of grid language on the element following Rippy. You see there's like a delicate emboss here that helps as well to like
keep the foot in place.
Exactly. And then it's like cut and squares. Serrated laces.
The best laces, by the way. Thank you for using those.
And we challenge the maker to have like a little reflective motif and stuff to go a bit more in detail on that.
Nice. That's awesome.
So yeah, it comes with a pretty cool box.
Oh yeah.
For the.
This is, dude. Honestly, this might be my favorite part of the shoe. It's like such a throwback. As a kid who grew up in the '80s, and you know, had the RC cars. This is. I just remember these boxes like at Christmas time, and you get the huge box with like all the details and the specs of the shoe or the race car. And now you got this on the shoe.
And honestly, that's, you know, Bree's collection, and Breeze was the first to challenge. We barely started the project. He was already showing me 5 or 6 boxes from like US brand mid-80s or in Japan and things. And so it comes for the first season with like 2 shoe cover to keep the mud out of your car, you know, when you're finished with your races.
Nice.
That sticker board, which takes almost the same vintage mid-80s kind of vibe and things of
how, you know, that you put on the car.
Exactly. So, and again, like since day one, Breeze had this vision to almost think about the whole experience. Yeah. So that's gonna be a collectible items because it's come with only the first season.
Oh, really?
So the first 5 colors will have that. The next season and things will be too late, and we'll go back to a bit more classic shoebox.
Dude, that's cool. Okay, so tell me about some of the specs now for the shoe. What's the stack height on the?
Stack height is 32 to 27. It's a 5mm drop.
Okay.
It's a rocker. Yeah. So it's always gives a lot of different interpretation of how you give this kind of measurements and the feeling. The feeling, however, our athletes tell us that they have a feeling of having even more under their foot than a 32.
Okay.
280 grams.
280
size US 9.
So that's 9.7 ounces, maybe something like that.
Pretty bad in US conversion, so don't count on that for me.
We'll see. We'll see how close I am.
Exactly.
We'll play the game.
Put it
how
in
close is Robbe converting to American?
It's a good average. We didn't really pursue to have, you know, the lightest shoe out there. I think it's a combo of what I just run through. It's that good balance and mix of having only one shoe in the line.
Right.
We didn't want it to start to have like, you know,
it doesn't need to be a race day shoe. It doesn't need to be, you know, a max cushion shoe. It kind of just does everything. A shoe that can kind of do everything.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then what's the price point and release date on it?
The price point is $280.
$280. Okay.
Yes. It's releasing in 1st of July. Will be available 2025 with the first colorways.
And that'll be the 3 cut.
Yes.
Okay.
So there is like Falcon, which is a signature color from Satisfy apparel line. Antique white, which is this one that we walk you through all the different parts.
And that'll be these 3 models right here. 3 colorways.
Falcon is really like a signature color for Satisfy apparel line.
Yeah.
So that's like another green that we will carry even in the next season.
Right.
Like same for the antique white.
Okay.
And then there is the shadow colorway. And that's going to be the first drop. And there's 2 special colorways that will come later in the line.
Okay, awesome. Man, it's hard to. I'm trying to figure out which one I like best.
Same. I keep hesitating and going.
Because I do like that this stands out on the shadow and the.
I mean, we started the process where Breeze told me I'm no shoe designer, but he came with a sketch.
Okay, all right.
And the sketch was really like that kind of little shape that, you know, that Andy Warhol velvet underground banana cover and things. He had this line that came actually almost a little bit like that.
I like
so you could see like that kind of color blocking that is kind of emphasizing a little bit the rocker vibe. When it comes to antique, it's a bit more disappearing, but we feel it gives more depth and also a different thing. So back to your point, I keep hesitating, and I think I need all colors. And
just like the Velvet Underground and Nico album came with the banana sticker, you got the stickers with the shoe. It's all coming together.
Satisfies about culture.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, well, Erik, thanks for talking with me today. It was awesome seeing this shoe. I know a lot of people were excited about it. I've heard a lot about it here at TRE, and I think people are going to be stoked for it. There's some really cool stuff going on with the shoe that we haven't seen in other trail shoes. So good job. I'm excited to test it out. I'm sure we'll get a chance to do a review here at Believe in the Run. So thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Right. Take care, bud.